Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day today. We are starting with chapter 16 of The Giver. We are in lesson 20. All I did last time was I just read chapter 15. I didn't ask any questions or anything. I'm not going to open up with any questions. I'm going to just jump into this chapter and hopefully I have time to ask questions. If not, I'll just ask questions on another video. But I will read chapter 16. If you'll follow along with me, we'll start on page 152. Jonas did not want to go back. He didn't want the memories, didn't want the honor, didn't want the wisdom, didn't want the pain. He wanted his childhood again. His scraped knees in ball games. He sat in his dwelling alone, watching through the window. Excuse me. Seeing children at play. Citizens bicycling home from uneventful days at work. Ordinary lives free of anguish because he had been selected, as others before him had, to bear their burden. But the choice was not his. He returned each day to the annex room. The giver was gentle with him for many days following the terrible shared memory of war. There are so many good memories, the giver reminded Jonas, and it was true. But now Jonas had experienced countless bits of happiness, things he had never known of before. He had seen a birthday party with one child singled out and celebrated on his day, so that now he understood the joy of being an individual, special and unique and proud. He had visited museums and seen paintings filled with all the colors he could now recognize and name. In one ecstatic memory, he had ridden a gleaming brown horse across a field that smelled of damp grass, and had dismounted beside a small stream from which both he and the horse drank cold, clear water. Now he understood about animals, and in the moment that the horse turned from the stream and nudged Jonas's shoulder affectionately with its head, he perceived the bonds between animal and human. He had walked through woods and sat at night beside a campfire. Although he had through the memories learned about the pain of loss and loneliness, now he gained too an understanding of solitude and its joy. What is your favorite? Jonas asked the giver. You don't have to give it away yet, he added quickly. Just tell me about it so I can look forward to it, because I'll have to receive it when your job is done. The giver smiled. Lie down, he said. I'm happy to give it to you. I'm at the top of page 154. Jonas felt the joy of it as soon as the memory began. Sometimes it took a while for him to get his bearings, to find his place, but this time he fit right in and felt the happiness that pervaded the memory. He was in a room filled with people, and it was warm with firelight glowing on a hearth. He could see through a window that outside it was night and snowing. There were colored lights, red and green and yellow, twinkling from a tree which was oddly inside the room. On a table, lighted candles stood in a polished golden holder and cast a soft flickering glow. He could smell things cooking, and he heard soft laughter. A golden-haired dog lay sleeping on the floor. On the floor, there were packages wrapped in brightly colored paper and tied with gleaming ribbons. As Jonas watched, a small child began to... Hey, babe.
Sure.
I'm working. As Jonas watched, a small child began to pick up the packages and pass them around the room to other children, to adults who were obviously parents, and to an older, quiet couple, man and woman, who sat smiling together on a couch. While Jonas watched, the people began one by one to untie the ribbons on the packages, to unwrap the bright papers, open the boxes and reveal toys and clothing and books. There were cries of delight. They hugged one another. The small child went and sat on the lap of the old woman, and she rocked him and rubbed her cheek against his. Jonas opened his eyes and lay contentedly on the bed, still luxuriating in the warm and comforting memory. It had all been there, all the things he had learned to treasure. What did you perceive? The giver asked. Warmth, Jonas replied, and happiness. And let me think, family. That it was a celebration of some sort, a holiday, and something else. I can't quite get the word for it. It will come to you. Who were the old people? Why were they there? It had puzzled Jonas seeing them in the room. The old of the community did not ever leave their special place, the house of the old, where they were so well cared for and respected. They were called grandparents. Grandparents? Grandparents. It meant parents of the parents long ago. Back and back and back, Jonas began to laugh. So actually there could be parents of the parents of the parents of the parents. The giver laughed too. That's right. It's a little like looking at yourself, looking in a mirror, looking at yourself, looking in a mirror. Jonas frowned. But my parents must have had parents I never thought about before. Who are my parents of the parents? Where are they? Well, you could go look in the Hall of Open Records. You'd find the names. But think, son, if you apply for children, then who will be their parents of the parents? Who will be their grandparents? My mother and father, of course. And where will they be? Jonas thought. Oh, he said slowly. When I finish my training and become a full adult, I'll be given my own dwelling. And then when Lily does, a few years later, she'll get her own dwelling and maybe a spouse and children if she applies for them. And then mother and father, that's right. As long as they're still working and contributing to the community, they'll go and live with the other childless adults. And they won't be part of my life anymore. And after that, when the time comes, they'll go to the house of the old. Jonas went on. He was thinking aloud. And they'll be well cared for and respected. And when they're released, there'll be a celebration. Which you won't attend, the giver pointed out. No, of course not, because I won't even know about it. By then, I'll be so busy with my own life, and Lily will too. So our children, if we have them, won't know who their parents of parents are either. It seems to work pretty well that way, doesn't it? The way we do it in our community, Jonas asked. I just didn't realize there was any other way until I received that memory. It works, the giver agreed. Jonas hesitated. I certainly like the memory, though. I can't see why it's your favorite. I can see why it's your favorite. I couldn't quite get the word for the whole feeling of it. The feeling that was so strong in the room. Love, the giver told him. Jonas repeated it. Love. It was a word and new and concept new to him. They were both silent for a minute. Then Jonas said, Giver? Yes? I feel very foolish saying this. Very, very foolish. No need. Nothing is foolish here. Trust the memories and how they make you feel. Well, Jonas said, looking at the floor, I know you don't have the memory anymore because you gave it to me, so maybe you won't understand this. I will. I am left with a vague wisp of that one, and I have many other memories of families and holidays and happiness, of love. Jonas blurted out what he was feeling. I was thinking that, well, I can see that it wasn't a very practical way to live with the old right there in the same place where maybe they wouldn't be well taken care of the way they are now, and that we have a better arranged way of doing things. But anyway, I was thinking, feeling actually that it was kind of nice then. And that I wish we could be that way, and that you could be my grandparent. The family in the memory seemed a little more, he faltered, not able to find the word he wanted, a little more complete. the giver suggested. Jonas nodded. I like the feeling of love, he confessed. He glanced nervously at the speaker on the wall, reassuring himself that no one was listening. I wish we still had that, he whispered. Of course, he added quickly, I do understand that it wouldn't work very well, and it's much better to be organized the way we are now. I can see that it was a dangerous way to live. What do you mean? Jonas hesitated. He wasn't certain, really, what he had meant. He could feel that there was risk involved, though he wasn't sure how. Well, he said, finally grasping for an explanation, they had fire right there in that room. There was a fire burning in the fireplace, and there were candles on a table. I can certainly see why those things were outlawed. Still, he said slowly, almost to himself, I did like the light they made and the warmth. Love. Very special. Very special. Okay, now we're going to jump into 159. This is him coming home. Father, Mother, Jonas asked tentatively after the evening meal, I have a question I want to ask you. What is it, Jonas? His father asked. He made himself say the words, though he felt flushed with embarrassment. He had rehearsed them in his mind all the way home from the annex. Do you love me? There was an awkward silence for a moment. Then Father gave a little chuckle. Jonas, you of all people, precision of language, please. What do you mean? Jonas asked. Amusement was not at all what he had anticipated. Your father means that you used a very generalized word, or so meaningless that it's become almost obsolete. His mother explained carefully. Jonas stared at them. Meaningless? He had never before felt anything as meaningful as the memory. And of course, our community can't function smoothly if people don't use precise language. You could ask, do you enjoy me? The answer is yes, his mother said. Or, his father suggested, do you take pride in my accomplishments? And the answer is wholeheartedly yes. Do you understand why it's inappropriate to use a word like love? Mother asked. Jonas nodded. Yes, thank you, I do, he replied slowly. It was his first lie to his parents. I had thought he had lied whenever he said he was just tired from the day's work earlier, from the schoolwork in the other chapter. I guess we're not counting that. Questions 5 and 6 have to do with this. You'll have to answer those questions 5 and 6. I'm going to continue to read. We're almost through with chapter 16, and we'll try to hit the questions. Gabriel, Jonas whispered that night to the new child. The crib was in his room again. After Gabe had slept soundly in Jonas's room for 4 nights, his parents had pronounced the experiment a success and Jonas a hero. Gabriel was growing rapidly, now crawling and giggling across the room and pulling himself up to stand. He could be upgraded in the nurturing center, Father said happily. Now that he slept, he could be officially named and given to his family in December, which was only 2 months away. But when he was taken away, he stopped sleeping again and cried in the night. So he went back to Jonas's sleeping room. They would give it a little more time, they decided. Since Gabe seemed to like it in Jonas's room, he would sleep there at night a little longer until the habit of sound sleep was fully formed. The nurturers were very optimistic about Gabriel's future. There was no answer to Jonas's whisper. Gabriel was sound asleep. Things could change, Gabe, Jonas went on. Things could be different. I don't know how, but there must be some way for things to be different. There could be colors. And grandparents, he added, staring through the dimness toward the ceiling of his sleeping room. and everybody would have the memories. You know about memories, he whispered, turning toward the crib. Gabriel's breathing was even and deep. Jonas liked having him there, though he felt guilty about the secret. Each night he gave memories to Gabriel. Memories of boat rides and picnics in the sun. Memories of soft rainfall against window panes. Memories of dancing barefoot on a damp lawn. Gabe. The new child stirred slightly in his sleep. Jonas looked over at him. There could be love, Jonas whispered. The next morning, for the first time, Jonas did not take his pill. Something within him, something that had grown there through the memories, told him to throw the pill away. That concludes chapter 16. If you go to card 7, it tells you to start at father, mother, and stop at it was his first lie to his parents. And I have read that. So when he asks them about love, they don't get it. It's something that's not tangible. It's abstract, and they want something that you can touch, something that's concrete, you know. So do I take pride in your accomplishments? Yes, I can take pride in your accomplishment. I do enjoy you, but they don't understand love. And that bothered Jonas. How have Jonas's character and perspective about his community changed as a result of his experience? Let me go back and answer 5 and 6. Compare and contrast Jonas's conversation with the giver and the conversation with his parents, and what do his dialogue and demeanor in each interaction suggest about how his character is changing? It's no doubt he's closer to the giver than he is his parents. When he experiences the memory of love and family and grandparents, he's actually able to be honest with the giver and say, I wish you could be like my grandfather. He talks about how he likes that memory. He wishes that they could experience those things. He don't really understand what the grandparents, how life really worked, having grandparents in your life. Because in his mind, he just sees them in another building with the other elderly, like at a nursing home. But it seems that he would like to have a closer relationship, and it goes back to a family connection. And he has a family unit, but he doesn't have that family connection with his own parents. So it's like the memories reveal that the ability to have a closer relationship exists, but the parents are out of touch with that reality because they don't know how. They haven't been taught how to have that relationship. It's like they can't experience that level of love because their whole community, nobody in that community experiences that. It was something that they gave up whenever they opted for sameness. What choice does Jonas make that he has not made before, and why are these significant? He begins to voice his true feelings to the giver. He begins to question why the community has gotten rid of certain feelings that bring such joy and completeness, like family and grandparents and love. His conversation with the giver shows that he's beginning to doubt the rational argument for why the community made these choices. It just doesn't seem to make sense to him. He just feels like they gave up too much. It does say that it's like he lied for the first time, which demonstrates that he is willing to break rules of his community in doing so, even with those closest to him. He does realize that he has a unique understanding that no one else has. And it's just amazing how he's also gotten so close to this Gabriel, who in just 2 months, so if it's in 2 months, then for 10 months now, he has been going to the giver. So he's been involved with this for 10 months. And in just 2 months, little Gabriel's going to be going away. He's going to be going to his own home. And he sure is putting a lot into little Gabe to not, and then I just think it's interesting the things that he says to little Gabe at the end, whenever he's saying he didn't know how. At the end of the chapter, when he says things could be different, I don't know how, but there must be some way for things to be different. There could be colors and grandparents, and he continues to give him memories. I wonder why he's doing that. So I think he's taking a big risk, even though that babies can't technically remember. I think he's still taking a big risk. How have Jonas's character and perspective about his community changed as a result of his experiences? They majorly changed. And I know they're going to continue because we still have 5 chapters to go. He really has grown. His affection for the giver has really grown. He trusts him in a way he no longer trusts others. Text evidence that supports this. He tells the giver that it would be nice if he was his grandparent. Jonas has started to doubt the wisdom of the community while he tries to rationalize the choices that they made to give up true family and true grandparents and true love. As he's thinking through it, it just seems like the community made a mistake. His actions begin to align with his perspective because he actually starts asking his parents, about love. And then when they give him a lecture about precise language, he tells them a lie. He does this because he realizes his understandings, that he understands something that they cannot understand. And he knows that. He is no longer conforming to his community and what it stands for. So it's going to be interesting to see what he continues to do with this knowledge that he now has. And I will see you for the next lesson.